Hello students, here's a video guide for argument. I don't want you to think that we are leaving rhetorical analysis behind. We start with rhetorical analysis because I want you to see how good writers work and the strategies that they use. And so as you are writing, try to include some of the rhetorical devices or strategies or structures in your own writing. It'll only strengthen it. For example, when you write an argument, you need to gain credibility. You need to gain the trust of your reader. And there are very specific ways to do that. You can offer a personal anecdote. You can offer a logical argument where you have facts and statistics. Or you can allude to history and literature. Those are all logical arguments that gain credibility. When you write, you also need to try to include some rhetorical devices in your writing as well as the appeals. And so try to use parallel sentence structure or repetition that is intentional and crafted well. Okay, so just keep all those in mind as you write. Now, for this assignment, you are going to do a journal and you are looking at 3 pieces and responding to them. The first piece is called On Compassion by Barbara Asher. And in this essay, she describes her encounters with homeless people in New York City. And so she has an epiphany about compassion, and she defines this term, this abstract term for you. And she also argues how it's developed. And so read this to see how she does that. She uses, the main mode of writing she uses is exemplification or illustration, which means she provides little examples to support her argument. And these examples are solid and specific with a lot of detail. And that's what you need to learn how to do when you write. Okay, so read this piece. It's interesting and short. The second piece is called Company Man. Let's see if I can open it. Okay, by Ellen Goodman. And this first paragraph is just background information. And this is just talking about you, trying to get you interested in the reading. Really, the reading begins here where he worked himself to death, finally and precisely at 3 a.m. Sunday morning. These writings provide beautiful examples of how to hook your reader. And that's exactly what Goodman does here. And she goes on, she is defining a company man, which is basically a workaholic. And she has all these examples of what makes him a workaholic and what it did to his family and what it did to him. And really, ultimately, it didn't benefit him in the least. The company just found someone to replace him. So it didn't change his existence, and his death didn't affect the company at all. It's something to think about. This next piece is called What Happiness Is. And this writer is defining happiness. He's using definition to define happiness. Again, the first page, 456, is just background information about the writer. The actual essay starts on page 457. And so I want you just to look at the examples he uses to support his definition. Okay, he uses psychologists and economists, and these are good examples of writing, and that's why I have you read these rather than a textbook. I want you to learn from other writers how to write well. Now, the documents that you'll need, one is called The Art of Argument. It's very helpful, so take a few minutes to look at it. It has Cicero's 6-part oration here, and it's not a 6-paragraph essay by any means. It's Cicero's. It's a classical argument. It's beautiful. It's logical. It's well constructed. It tells you everything you need to develop a solid argument. And so you have the hook, the narration or background information, and then your claim partition. So most of these 3 parts can be in the first paragraph, the introductory paragraph, where you hook your reader. You provide background information about your topic, why it's important, why are you talking about it right now, what do most people think about your topic, and then you have your claim. Okay. The confirmation is just how you develop your argument, the reasons for your opinion, along with the evidence that support your opinion. Refutation, you do not have to have a refutation in an essay. Oftentimes it makes the essay stronger because it gains you credibility. It shows that you've thought about both sides and you either agree with the opposing side on some points, which means you concede to them that they're right about this one thing, or you refute them and show how they're wrong. And that does make for a powerful argument. So you need to consider that when we do the bigger essays. And then your conclusion. It's just where you draw it to a close and argue one last time. Okay, this on the bottom is the same thing. It's just in more modern terms. And then the next page has ways to craft a hook. And so please look at these. If you'll notice, a rhetorical question is not on here. So many students want to start an essay with a question. Well, the point of an argument is to answer questions, not leave or pose questions. And so it is kind of an old way, and it's immature way to write. You see it a lot in, children's programming or high school announcements. They pose a lot of questions trying to hook their listeners. So avoid that if possible. And then here's ways to support an argument. This is what students struggle with the most because a lot of kids or students rather are good at offering opinions, but then they don't prove that they're right. And here are some ways to prove. You can use personal experience, which means in this case you can use I if you're telling this personal anecdote to support your argument. You can use solid examples from observations about the world in your family or your community. You can use allusions as you allude to history or literature or mythology or the Bible or other religious documents. Okay, so read that. You have to have support for your argument. And then finally, last thing that you'll need is Cicero's 6-part essay, which is already in that part of argument document, but this is elaborated a bit more. It provides structure for a body paragraph. Okay, and it provides more details. So like when you're writing the essay, you would have your hook, background, claim, and then you would develop your point. And here is where your very first sentence of your body paragraph should be your opinion, which is a reason that supports your argument, or your opinion rather. And then you have evidence. So you would have a transition and tell the story. Be specific. Who, what, where, when, why. You can use hypotheticals. Those are just weak types of evidence. So avoid those if possible. And I think that's it. Let's see. The assignment is in the journals. Y'all know how to post journals, and here it is. Okay. You've read those 3 pieces, you've gotten an idea of how to develop an argument, and you have 3 options. You can write where you talk about, do you agree or disagree with Asher's opinion about how compassion is developed? If you agree with her, you still have to support it with evidence from your own observations. Okay. Option 2 is where you define an abstract term. Porter defines happiness, so I want you to try to define some other term that's abstract, like freedom or love or liberty. So look at his essay to help you with that. And option 3 is kind of the opposite of a workaholic. It's a procrastinator. They're a little bit different, but you can define a procrastinator. Okay, there's a really good video, a TED Talk on procrastination. It's in the mind of a procrastinator, the title, I believe, and he does a beautiful job of defining procrastination. Okay, so again, for this assignment, it's a short mini essay. You have the intro, you have 1 body paragraph that supports your reason, and then you wrap up your argument and your conclusion. And that's it. Good luck.